what the beings told me karma was, it was not what goes around comes around. When you agree to come to Earth, you get a report card. And it's like love and hate, joy and grief. And whatever one experience is, there must be the opposite experience. So you have to tick each single box before you can finish your human journey. So you will recycle through the experiences. And remember I said something about the fact that, oh, I didn't get it. I spent my whole life trying to get this one lesson, and I just kept picking the wrong way. And I get to the end of the life, and I could have had 20 lessons in, and I could have ticked 20 boxes. But my OCD couldn't let go of this one decision. I kept picking the same person, the same trauma, the same grief. And by the end of my life, I'm still wringing my hands going, well, poor me, poor me, poor me. And then you die, and you go back to the white room, and they go, okay, your mission was a failure. You only got 1 out of 20. But that's okay, let's fix it. So now what they do is they start to put people in place to assist you. So when that comes up again in the next lifetime, and you get to choose, somebody comes in, maybe somebody like me, and drops a nugget, and you go, oh yeah, I'm just going to let that go. There you go. You've released it, and you've moved to the next lesson. So karma is whatever you have experienced in life. So Jeffrey Dahmer, in this life, will have a life equally as well, Jeffrey Dahmer was traumatic, and his whole experiences and everything was traumatic. He will be Mother Teresa in another life. You will have the same extreme. So Paris Hilton, with all this opulence and abundance and whatever, will live on the friggin' river Ganges, trying to get water. So everybody, when we look at him, oh, you're so lucky, oh, you have so much. Well, this lifetime I do. But I will have another lifetime where I will have nothing. And it depends on the extreme. Most people's extremes are like this. Somebody like Jeffrey Dahmer is like this. Well, then he's got to be Mother Teresa, because whatever you experience in form, you have to experience the opposite at the same extreme. That's what they call karma. And basically, we're ticking boxes. Yes, I have experienced love. Yes, I have experienced hate. Yes, I have experienced joy. Yes, I have experienced grief. And you will have to have every single experience in the whole tick list before you can graduate. And here's the cool thing. When you graduate and you go, I got it. I got all the ticks. Okay, I'm finished. Yay, I'm out of here. You get to leave the earth experience completely. There'll be no more karma. So this is the earth, and then there's a field that's just outside the earth, and that's the one you bounce out to and bounce back. You bounce out and you bounce back. This is the field. And outside of that field is another field, and that's where I went. I went right through the bliss plane, out into the all-knowingness. But most of us don't. We bounce out to the bliss plane, we rest, we recover, we figure out what we did wrong in the last life. Oh, I was a woman last time. Maybe if I was a man and I tried that same thing, I'll have success in that growth. Okay, let's do that. Oh, and I need somebody to come in and help me with that. Can you send somebody? Yeah, so you go in the white room, you plan it. You plan every single thing. This is why you have to say thankful for whatever comes. You planned it. So once you've done the back and forth from the bliss plane, and I always say 1,000 lives. I don't know if 1,000 lives is right, but let's go with something easy. You got to do 1,000 lives, and you got to get like 400 ticks in the boxes. So you get the ticks in the boxes, you finish the journey, you go through the bliss plane this time. You don't get trapped in the bliss plane because you're not coming back here. And you go out through the bliss plane, and the God source, the beings say, welcome home. Welcome home. What do you want to do next? Now, because you've had 1,000 lifetimes down here and you have experienced the extremes of love and hate and all the emotions that are opposite, they say you have everything it takes now to be a guide for a human. Do you want to be a guide? And we all have a guide. We all have a primary, and we all have a little team of guides. And every one of them did their 1,000 lifetimes, bounced up and down between the bliss plane, got their ticks, graduated from form, graduated from the earth plane, went out, and they were asked, what do you want to do next? And then many of them say, I want to be a guide. That was fun. I want to help somebody. And then the trick is they're all kind of excited because they want to see, can they get you? Hey, are you listening? And you're like, something's happening. I feel something. And they're like, yay, okay, I almost got it, right? Because their whole agenda is to be successful at reaching you. And if they can reach you, then they can assist you connect with your higher self. So the guide is not your higher self. So this is the whole concept of karma and this white room. People call it the Akashic records and different things. I don't know what to call it except the white room. You sit down as the being that you are and you plan the experience and they write it out. There's a contract. So you can't completely change the imprint. You can make a decision that certain things don't serve you and that you're willing to go with it. So you can program your field. You know, a lot of people think they have to go to somebody and sign up for a course or whatever, or have a shaman change it or pull it out. You can do these things.
Yeah.
You know, so if you want to change your imprint, one of the things you can do is take a piece of paper and you write on the paper the things you want to let go of. Now, if it's in your highest and best good, you will be allowed to let go of it. But you can't let go of something that you don't infuse back. So say I'm going to let go of jealousy or judgment or whatever you're trying to let go of. You write it into your form, and the more detail you can put into the paper that you're writing, the better. Because that's the manifesting and the creating of it. So if you take it out, you have to replace it with something.
Right.
The universe, doesn't want a vacuum here. So you burn that, right? And now you're going to write another list. Oh, I'm deeply compassionate. Again, you want it to be as detailed as possible because this is what a shaman would do for you. They would find it in your chakra, they would pull it out, they would blow it off, and then they would take the light of God that they are, the light of God that I am, I'm filling that space up. So they actually do a little thing where you tie notes around sticks. So the old ones that you want to get rid of are called death arrows. And you tie the paper around, you throw it in the paper, or in the fire. And I forget what the other ones are called, but they're the ones that you want to replace it with. So you can change these karmic things. But if it's not in your highest and best good, if you still have things you have to learn, you can try. And all you can keep saying is thank you. Okay, obviously I must need to still hang on to this for a while. My beings always say that this is not complicated. This is simple. So once you're done here and you're ready to die, no matter what you have done, it becomes part of you. And when you go back, all I know is that you go back into the white room and you do an assessment. What worked? What didn't work? Now, is there lights or colors? Possibly. Don't know any of that stuff, except the fact that you're working with two very high, they're angelic beings, big winged beings. And they're in there assisting you to navigate what happened that was right, what didn't happen. Oh, you didn't have a support person in there to help you. And so, and you've only got so many lives left. Let's do a rapid life experience. I think I picked every really tough thing. I'm in the last phases, or I was never here before, or whatever. And I was like, yeah, let's do them all. So I think we oftentimes take on big chunks of stuff because we're ambitious. I'm going to do it. I'm almost finished. This is my second to last life. I just want to get out of here. And there's also a place that we can go and rest. So if you're not ready to come back here, if you're like, whoa, that took the good out of me. I do not want to go back to Earth. 10,000 years looks good to me, right? There's a place that you can go called the Crystal City. And you can just be, and you can take courses. You can go into the Crystal City and you can just experience. And then when you've had enough, you're like, yeah, okay, I'll go back. Well, one of the best movies I've ever seen is called What Dreams May Come by Robin Williams. It is the closest film that I've ever seen to bring what I've been taught to people. And so what the being said was, yes, they were good listeners. So people who create movies and music and different stuff, they hear it and then they create it and they go, look how creative I am. And they don't realize that they're being whispered to, that this would be great, this would be great, this would be great. So that movie is really, really, really well done to show you. Like in the movie, he gets there and it's all paint. right? And he's like, what's happening? This can't be right. There's something right. Now, depending on where you are as a soul being, as your evolution, how many lives have you had? You know, if you've had, say 1,000 is what, you know, your maximum is, and you've had 998 lives. When you die in the 998th life, you don't go into the Robin Williams, I think that's paint. Who are you? Where'd you come from? What's this? Because he was in the infancy of his experiences, and he needed transition time to realize that he could jump across to the other side. Because he wasn't a far advanced soul being. Because when a far advanced soul being dies, they go poof, back to light. They go right back to photonic light. They don't mess around with trying to get into the other world. They're not like, oh, is that real? What's going on? Because in the Crystal City, when I've been there, some beings are walking around with bodies. But the bodies are so see-through. They're barely there see-through. And I said, why are they walking around in bodies? And the guy who always speaks to me, his name is David. And he said, oh, they don't want to let go of this experience. They're kind of confused. They think they need this suit because here you have these kind of semi-transparent people walking around having experiences, going into the library, into the teaching rooms, and then you have these little photons of light zinging around, and then you have this, from a photon you get this orby type of being that's not quite the photon of light. So there's levels. Everything we experience here, there's levels there too. You know, this is not our only experience. And when you get out, and I said if you want to be a guide for somebody else, you can be. But you could also be offered to go to a completely different planetary experience. In The Host, Stephanie Meyer writes about the fact that, you know, you can go to the planet of beers. You can go to the planet of flowers. You can go and just experience. You know, I remember one time having the experience of being a brook. And I was also seaweed. It's just a state of being. It's like amazing because it's like, whoa, this is so nice. Just to be, not to think or create. Right, so the Crystal City is a place that we go. It's, I call it the in-between, the in-between. So when the first time I ever saw it, I climbed up a crystalline ladder, right? And I was climbing up this crystalline ladder, and I stuck my head up over, it was kind of what I thought was clouds. I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. You can stick your head up. And I was like, oh, okay, there's a spot here, right? And I was standing there, and it was like, well, you can go higher. Now, not all of us can go higher. Again, we're back into where are you on the evolutionary growth chart of the soul being. So I was there, and they said, oh, you can go higher, and there was another ladder. I was like, oh, cool. Now, most of us only get to the in-between, right? So it was the in-between of the in-between. And I was like, oh, I can go higher? And they said, yes, because I'm not quite normal. I'm not doing the quite normal dance. So I went up the next ladder, and when I got up to the top of the next ladder, it kind of reminded me of Jack and the Beanstalk, you know? Oh, wow, okay. And as I came up through this, I saw this magnificent Crystal City. And like I said, little photons of light flying around, kind of orby little creatures, half there people. Wow. So the Crystal City was over here, and there was a little path. And I was walking down the path, and this happened over and over and over again, and this man is sitting on the bench, and he's in dungarees. Well, that's not a word I would use, dungarees. What the heck's a dungaree? I had to Google it. Oh, it's some sort of pant denims or something. And he had a gingham shirt on and kind of suspenders, and he was sitting on the bench. He says, come, sit with me. And I was like, who are you? And he goes, I'm David. And I was like, oh, hi, David. Cool, yeah. And he's telling me about the Crystal City. And when we get back, we go to the Crystal City and we do our assessment, and that's where the white room is. And I'm like, oh, yeah, this is all cool, whatever, you know. So I went to see him over and over and over in different sets of meditations. I'm working with an energy person. She was helping me. And so finally I was sitting with this guy, David, and I said, your name's not really David. And he goes, no, it's not. Not that you would know. And I said, your name is Jesus. And he goes, yes. And he said, but if I had told you that, you would never have spoke to me. And I was like, Yeah, you're fucking right, I wouldn't. You're Jesus? No, we don't talk. You know, like that's one of those, you get on your knees, you pray. And he goes, I'm just a light being in a suit. I came to earth to teach you. That's it. You guys have made me way too important. Like I'm just a messenger. And messengers have come all the time, and I'm just a messenger. And this is not my real form either. This is just one to make you comfortable so we can sit on a bench and I can teach you the things about the Crystal City. That's it. So the next time I saw Jesus, I saw him a dozen times that way, dressed as David. He said I was going to write, I don't know if it's a book, but he said it was called You Call Me David. But another time I saw him, he was with Gabriel. And Gabriel was sitting with him, and they were in robes. And I was like, oh, well, we're all fancy today now, aren't we? And they're saying, well, this is one of those reverend moments for you. You're in the garden. So when I first started going to the garden was where I started to realize what I really am, what we really are. And Jesus and Gabriel were there. And again, Gabriel said, I have a gift for you. And it was this little box. And when I opened the box up, it was a scroll of paper, and it rolled one way, and it went, come back to me. And as it rolled back the other way, it said, God loves you. I love you. Come back to me. And this and Gabriel took this box, and he pushed it right inside my body. And he said, always there, always with you. Always. All of us. So all of these things are all of us. And like I said, I don't know what other people write about it, but it's a pretty simple process. As above, so below. We are here learning and growing and teaching and leveling up. And when we do it here, and it's like tick, 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 I got all the boxes, then you're offered the next, and you go up to the next level, and then you make your next set of decisions. Am I going to be a guide? Am I going to the bear planet or the flower planet? Or what am I going to experience next? And that is for all of us. And every one of us, even the most corrupt, diabolical humans on the planet, are soul beings in suits. So even the most corrupt, negative, horrible person, you can send love to because they have picked an experience to counterbalance another experience. And that's a pretty shitty place to be living. So you have to send them compassion and love, despite the fact that they're mean and nasty serial killers or whatever they are. Because up until now, I have never heard that we are not. Now, is the darkness there influencing? Yes. But I've never heard that any of us are darkness. Soul beings are light beings. That's it. And we get a suit, and we get a set of experiences.
You pull the energy down. Like just when we did the meditation, I'm like, push it out. You're not just using your head to do it, though. You want it to be a heart and head commingling. So you're literally pushing it out. So you can also draw it in. You know, I'm opening myself. Anytime you engage the portals of your hands and feet, you open up. Remember how I told you to take the little piece of roundness in your head and pull it down to the tops of your ears. And what you do is you set up a pillar of light that we just went through. We pushed it out to go out to the universal God source and connect. So then you draw down from that who you truly are. And at that point, you want that energy to connect. Now, if you draw it down through your face and into your high heart, then it kind of anchors or connects you there. And then you say your willingness to speak to 100% light, and that you're seeking guidance and counsel, and I'm open to receive. But you don't want to open yourself to receive something if you have not set the parameters of who you're going to speak to. I don't care how we slice this. We don't have to get into breaking it down to, the good guys and the bad guys, or defining what that means. You'll know dark energy. You will feel it. There is dark energy. There is light energy. Now, they're both essential to our experience here right now. As we shift into the new world, dark energy will not be allowed to follow. It will be too low frequency. It will not follow us into the new world. So we'll only be dealing with high frequency, which is great. But right now, if you want to connect, if you want to speak to your higher self or to the beings that can give you guidance and counsel, make sure you state, I'm only dealing with 100% light. Now, I've noticed a lot of people who channel and who speak to different kinds of entities don't like that. They said, well, when I do that, I don't hear anything. And I'm like, that's because you're targeting dark light. So if you want to continue to talk to dark light, go right ahead. They will whisper in your ear. They will tell you that Aunt Sally went to Florida and bought a new maraca. They will tell you the same thing that the light can tell you. But there's a price to pay because you're dealing with dark energy, not light energy. But if you don't want to be caught in the darkness and beholden to the darkness, then make sure you set up your parameters to ask for 100% light. And then open your crown and open. You don't want to be opening your crown to something that's dark. So when you do it, you want to make sure that's where you go. So, okay, so I'll give you the quick story first, and then I'll give you what Lynn Grabhorn said. So I was called to go to British Columbia. Now, I've been following guidance for as long as I can remember. At this point, 20 years. So I followed the guidance. I found myself out in British Columbia for a month, and I'm going, what the hell am I doing here? So I'm in British Columbia with this woman. And the very first night I'm there, I'm so tired. And in the middle of the bedroom, over in the corner, was this triangle glass cabinet, look, a curio cabinet, and it had 3 blue lights in it. I was like, wow, that's the coolest cabinet ever. And I fell asleep. But my sleeping thought was, when I get up, I'm going to have a look at that cabinet. So when I got up in the morning, there was no cabinet there. And I went downstairs and I said to her, there's a blue cabinet in your room? And she goes, there's no blue cabinet in my room. And I'm like, but I saw it. And I saw it every single night before I fell asleep. And it's this tattoo. It was 3 lights in a glass cabinet in the corner of the room. And I was like, okay, something really freaky happening here. There's something here for me. We don't always know what it is, but there's something here for me. So I just kept saying yes. Okay, I'm available to all communication of 100% light. Yes, that type of thing. So anyway, she says to me, I wanted to investigate hypnosis for my son. And so she invites this woman who's been doing hypnosis 25 years, and she comes to hypnotize me, and I make a joke, and I said, well, I don't think you'll be able to hypnotize me. And she goes, you guys are always the easiest. So she does the hypnosis, and I have an amazing experience. And I go home to the blue planet, and I find Evan, and I have this amazing experience. The sun is blue, it's kind of Avatar. Like everything's this iridescent blue, beautiful. And I'm like, oh, I'm home. And I just wanted to stay home. I did not want to come back. But she calls me back from the meditation or the hypnosis. And I tell her everything that happens. Now, all of a sudden, without any prompting, I start telling her about the world pulling itself apart. And this is happening, and we're going to vibrate differently, and we're going to shift into the new world. And I'm like, why am I saying all this? Because at that point, I had not told a soul about what I was seeing, about the world pulling itself apart. I was like, okay, because my husband had even said, you're really pushing it. Like, this is pretty out there. So I just start blabbering, blah, 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 blah. And she goes, oh my God, I've got to go get a book. And she just drops everything and leaves. And I'm like, where the hell did she go? And she comes flying back in, 10 minutes later. And she goes, I've got it. It's this book. And it was called Dear God, What's Happening to Us? And it was a book written by Lynn Grabhorn, who was a channeler. And of course, I'm like, I don't know about this channeling. This is kind of crazy, Okay, so anyway, she passes me the book, and she says this whole book is about the earth pulling itself apart, everything that you just told me. I'm like, oh, that's really wild. So she gave me the book, and she said, I think you're supposed to have it. And I devoured it. I read it like 3 times in the next couple of days. But in the book is a section, and what we'll have to do is get Celia to print it or make it available. So there's a section in the book that says we have come to the place in time that we only want to deal with 100% light. We want us to be 100% light. We want to be the highest frequency we can possibly create and maintain for our entirety, because we're about to make this shift. And we don't know what that shift exactly looks like. You just got to say yes, trust, and allow. Anyway, in the book, she talks about your primary guide. She talks about your team of guides, and she talks about the consciousness grid that you are connected to. And she gives you a little, what would you call it? There's no reverence needed. You don't get on your knees and pray. There's none of that. You're simply commanding the program, because that's what I said we are. We're all programmed pieces of something, mainframe, and we're little satellite computers. So you actually program the field by saying, I command that my primary guides and everybody to do with that is 100% light. I command that the team of beings that I deal with and that I work with on a daily basis be 100% light. And if they're not, make them. Make it so. And I command that the universal grid or the consciousness grid that I am connected to be 100% light. And then there's a second little set that you can read. But so basically what it said was, if you believe these statements to be true, then simply sit with your consciousness and your heart and state them. I state these things to be true. Now, if that works for you, great. If it doesn't work for you and you don't like it, don't do it. Everything in your life is as, would you like some of this? So anyway, I did it. I read them through and I was like, yeah, I agree with this. I agree with all these things. There was, I think, 6 altogether. And I stated them. And in the book, she had said, now you might end up with a bad stomach or, because there's a lot of energy swirling and churning. And she said, I got really sick. But she said, I don't think anybody else will ever get sick like I did. Well, my God. I pooped on the subway, like down my legs. It was the worst. It was the worst. And I could not stop vomiting diarrhea, vomiting diarrhea, vomiting diarrhea. I was like, what have I done? And I was kombucha and the kefir and, and I was taking Imodium like, candy. And finally I said to her, I've got to go home because I'm terrified I'm not going to get home. So anyway, I spent over 3 weeks with this stomach. And my mother who's a nurse, she was like, I need to take you to the hospital. I'm like, it's spiritual. And she's like, it's spiritual. I promise you it's spiritual. It's going to stop. And finally one day, gone. Now, I've had a ton of people do these where they speak them and they said that they had an upset stomach, but that's all they got. So, but I always warn people, if maybe I had a ton of darkness and it had to be expelled in order to get me to a high frequency, 100% light. I don't know what it was, but I always warn people, you could have the backdoor trots. Because I'll tell you, I was really not well. But after that, I was renewed. I was truly like, wow, I am so connected. And it felt good. I was shedding. Yeah, cleansing. Yeah. Well, a lot of kombucha and a lot of kefir and a lot of yogurt. Yep. So anyway, I'm glad I never have to go through that particular one again because the whole subway thing was just a nightmare. but you learn to laugh at yourself. Words are powerful. So don't, can't, won't, all these words, the universe doesn't hear them. And I always liken it to a dog. If you say it to a dog, you don't want to go for a walk, do you? You don't want to go for a walk. The dog goes, walk, walk, walk. Right? So the universe is very similar to a dog. Oh, I don't want to be sick. I want to be sick. Right? Oh, I don't want to be poor. I want to be poor. Because the don't piece is like the dog. You don't want to go for a walk, and the dog goes, walk, right? So when you say, I don't want to be poor, you've actually canceled what you've said. Now you're saying, I want to be poor. And the universe goes, okay, here you go. So what you want to say is, I am abundant. I am healthy. I am wealthy. I am wise. I am balanced. I am whole. I am grateful. And as soon as you put the don't in there, the universe gives you the opposite. So there's a lot of intense stuff that happens with energy, and we have to understand that. Drink a ton of water. If you're practicing any kind of connection, if you're practicing any kind of channeling or connecting with energy or asking for guidance, water, water, water. Empty stomach. If your stomach is full, you will not connect. You just won't. the other thing that connecting is to make sure that you are completely supported. So the beings talked to me a lot about this because they said, we don't understand why you make things so complicated. So in many of the traditional ways people meditate, they cross their legs and they sit in contorted positions like this with their eyes wide open. I'm meditating, and it's like painful. And they talk about the fact that it'll take 20 years before you really become a master. And the beings are like, why do you do that? I'm like, I don't know, because people tell them to do it. And they said, but that's not going to help you connect. So here's what they said. If you want to connect, the best thing you can do is have your feet on the floor. So put your feet on your floor. But if you're not able to put your feet on the floor, you have to prop something behind you. You have to have something to lean into. Oh, if you let your arms fall, your rotator cuffs will hurt. You will not travel. So one arm's going to have to come up on something. The other arm is going to have to come up on something. Now you see how you're propped, right? Anything's got to be behind your back. Now the next thing you have to do is cover your body, cover your feet, bring a blanket up over you. Because as you start to connect and as you will yourself to journey and get out of the suit and go look around, either astral travel or multidimensional travel or asking for guides to come and connect with you, you will get cold. There's nothing you can do about it. So tuck your feet into a blanket, put yourself in a position that you can sit for. You may plan on a 20-minute meditation and end up being an hour. Because once you get in, it's not all that easy. Well, I shouldn't say it's not all that easy. You can get out with a simple open your eyes. But if you want to come out naturally so that it's smooth, you could be there for up to an hour, depending on what you've aligned for your time. State your intention. Set yourself up. So tuck your feet in, tuck the blanket around you, find yourself completely propped up, and now open your crown. Anchor yourself to the planet, anchor yourself to source, call out and say, okay, I'm comfortable, I'm ready, I'm safe. If your pants are digging in you, you won't travel. If you have to pee, you won't travel. If you have to poop, you won't travel. So everything is about making the human being completely safe, comfortable, and no interruptions. So pinging and tinging and stuff like that. So when that stuff is bound to happen, before you start your meditation, state to your body, now there may be street noise. Now there may be, the guys are fixing over here with a saw. So when you hear it, it is part of the meditation. So if you set the intention before you hook up to do your meditation that, oh yeah, there may be sounds around me, but I am making them part of the meditation. I'm at ease and peace. I know what they are. I'm not frightened. I'm completely safe. And then start your meditation. Anyway, that's one of the instructions that they've given me is and if you're in water, that's a great place to practice. So if you're in the bathtub, set yourself up, connect with the energy, because water seems to be conduit, and it opens channels really easy. But be prepared to wake up in the cold water, because I woke up in more than one bath that was like, and the water had gone completely cold. Oh, right. That was another point. You set yourself up energetically to do your meditation. You set yourself up so you don't pull your rotator cuffs or the pee-pee thing, or my pants are too tight. Like right now, if I had to meditate, I'd blow the top off my head before I could come to it. My pants are sticking in me, my bra is sticking in me, the back of my head is achy. It's like, yeah, we ain't connecting. But when you find that place that you can connect with your mind's eye, with your heart energy, you put a point of light in front of you, right in front, and then you put a light on either side. You're looking for that the even base triangle, and you set up a beam of light that puts you in that triangle, and then you can hold that space, and that 3 points of light can really facilitate your connection to the beings. Connecting with these beings and asking for help. Example, my car is rattling, it's doing very human stuff. It's a car, it's in a human world. And I'm like, I don't know if I should be buying another car, or should I repair this car, or, and it's just miserable because I can't make a decision because I'm tight and I don't want to spend my money. I might need this money. But anyway, I woke up. So for 3 days in a row, I'm asking, is this car going to collapse? Is this car okay? Should I just get it fixed? And I'm asking kind of in a generalized sense. I'm not sitting there, thinking about it and concentrating. And then I woke up this morning. It was like, get rid of that car now. I was like, oh, okay. So you get your answer. Now, it's not an immediate thing, and it's something that we can all do. Connect to this energy, live with this energy, work with this energy. If you got a question about a human thing, start asking, is this going to be a good thing? Is this the right move? Show me the next right move. Tell me which direction to go. Should I go this way? Should I go this way? So now you start to ask the universe the questions of the human, my car, my house, my dog, that type of thing. But because you're energetically connected to it, as you work with the energy, your answers start to come. Now, this is a really funny thing too. Esther Hicks talks about the fact that for the first 9 months, she was connecting to these energy beings, trying to channel. Her and her husband had used Seth, teachings of Seth, and she was like, okay, I'm doing my meditation. And she said as soon as a thought or an energy or a word would come in her head, she'd blow it away, because she was told to meditate. She was supposed to clear her mind, and no matter what came in her mind, she was just to blow it away, right? So here's Esther Hicks trying to channel, trying to connect with energy, and anyway, this particular story is that the being said, don't blow me away, I'm trying to talk to you. So after 9 months of blowing away the energy, clearing her mind, this being was able to say, I'm trying to talk to you. Oh, okay. Because this is one of the things. So prayer is asking, right? Prayer is telling the universe what you need. Meditation is listening. What does the universe have to tell you? Now, there's 2 types of meditation. There's a type of meditation that is intended to help you connect to source energy, to the being's energy, to your own higher self. Well, if you're blowing away what they're trying to tell you, you're missing what you asked a question. Now you're waiting for a response. And if the thought comes to your head and you go, oh yeah, just blow it away. Well, that's the answer, you silly fool. You just asked a question. Now you've sat down to ask for the answer, and the answers are coming, and instead of going, okay, I'm listening, you're doing the meditation thing where, oh yeah, clear your mind. Oh yeah, clear your mind. Well, that's good meditation too. But if you've asked a question, don't clear your mind, you're waiting for the answer. Let the answer come. And the answer could come in music, it could come in somebody who says something to you, it could come on the television set, or it could come directly into your ear and tell you something. So don't miss the answer. We are in constant symbiotic relationship with this other world. It is constantly trying to talk to you. You'll get a song playing in your head. You'll hear something on the radio. You'll see, your favorite number might be 1, 2, 3, 4, and you'll see it everywhere. And the universe is going, tink, 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 tink. Are you paying attention? So the more you pay attention, the more aware you are. The more aware you are, the more energetically present you are. The more energetically present you are, the more you can talk to the other side. Like the car. Sell this car now! Okay! So I did. Because the car was getting pretty rattly. But I didn't know if I should sell it. Maybe I could get another 10 years out of it, but they didn't think that was a good idea. So I sold it. So use your tools and there's the don't. Be fearless. State your intention. I want to work with 100% light. I want to work with beings of 100% light that have my best interest in heart, and that they're willing to work with me and everybody else. And when I sit down to meditate, that's who I'm speaking to, or your own cosmic higher self. So state clearly what you want, and then wait for it to come. And sometimes it comes in 2 or 3 days. Now, the beings told me they live in the crackle of our brain. And they talked about axioms and dendrites, and I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. So they showed it to me. I'm not a biology person. I don't really understand it. But in your brain, you have these kind of little fingers. And between there is a chasm. One dendrite, the other dendrite, and a little electricity jumps from one dendrite to the other dendrite. Right? And they said, that's us. That's where we live. Because I was saying, you can't cut off your arm and see you're there. So we're a human and a being. Well, where are you? Because I can't cut my arm off and see you in my arm. I can't open my chest and find you in my body. If you're here, where are you? And they said, we live in the crackle of your brain. And that made so much sense. They are pure electricity. So when Evan was dying, he had zero crackle in his brain. And the being said, yes, we had left. You called us back into his body. So the crackle in the brain is where the being lives, this little crackle. They have actually talked about that. But it goes back to, if it brings you delight, if you resonate with it, if it's helping you, if you feel connected to it, it's awesome. Use it. Now, some people, I love stones and crystals. I can feel the energy. I put them down in my bra. I put them in my purse. I really like them. They bring me peace, and I feel connected through them. So that works for me. But now somebody else is like, ooh, that doesn't work for me. And they have something else that they do. So whatever modalities, they have talked about it, whatever brings you peace, whatever brings you that sense of connection, use it. There is no right or wrong in these types of things. But crystals are definitely something that hold truth energy and that they can speak to you. Crystals are living, like this piece you have on the table here. Even though it's broke off, it's a living creature. And the beings told me that in crystals, truth is infused, and that you can pick the crystal up, you can use it, you can work with it. It's definitely a modality that works. But if you don't work with crystals, you're not going to ascend, Oh, so the healing circle that we did with Evan was, give your energy for 20 minutes, take your hands off him, give him the joy of being human, and then say thank you, and high frequency music being listed for the whole time. Now, a friend of mine came to me and asked if the beings knew of any kind of ritual that would do healing. Like, was there a healing ritual? And the being said that the ultimate healing circle was 12 around 1. So the person who wanted to get the healing could sit in the middle. You give the person in the middle a larger piece of carnelian. The carnelian stone, it's a little orangey stone. So they said put the person that wants the healing in the center, and they get a big piece. They're the focus, they're the focal point. And that the 12 people that are around that person willingly say that my energy being will share any pieces that you need. So they hold they get a little piece of carnelian, and they hold it in their left hand, and that they sit in their meditation with this person, sharing and giving and laughing. There's no sense for this reverence thing. This is what I had to learn the hard way. I was so serious. The more joyful you are, the better these things work. So you're holding your piece of carnelian, and you open your energy field, and you say to the person, the being, because you're not really dealing with the human, you say to the being in the center, listen, whatever I have here that you need some of, take it. I'm giving it to you. Use what I have to assist yourself in becoming strong and healthy and bonded and clear. And then they hold their little piece of carnelian, and the person in the middle starts to take and absorb and feel with gratitude. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to my friends. Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing the energy. I'm so grateful. And then you take all 12 little pieces of stone and you give them to the person in the middle. And you take the 12 little pieces and the big piece, and it goes in a little bag, and it goes under your bed. Same way you put the stones in my life went in under the bed. So it goes in under the heart chakra between the mattress and the box spring, and you slide it in there, and you give it 30 days. Beings, my God, they say the funniest things, and they're like, why do you do that? They're always like, why do you do that? That confuses us. We don't understand that. I'm like, well, you're omnipotent. Why don't you know? But they're not humans, so I guess. So the first thing we do is we have this baby. It's a scream fest. And then we wrap the baby up in some sort of blankie and take it to Walmart. And so they said, this concept of having children and giving birth is another one of those topics that you guys have just really got quite confused. So they talked about the fact that the very best way that we could honor the birth of a child. So it's just, the child is being born. It has a physical body. It's being brought into the world in a really think about, we're moving into a pressured state. Well, birth is a pressured state. So we're moving into the birth of a new world. It's a pressured state. A baby comes into the world. It's pressured. That little energy being that jumps in that suit is like, whoa, what's happening? So the baby does not have the being in it when it's born. I was telling you that earlier. The baby is born, and on the first inhale of the breath, the being moves in through the breath and hooks itself up through the chakra system. I always do that because it's like, yep, click, 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 click. And then that baby is now anchored. The being has been anchored in the suit. And the best thing we can do for that child coming is, you don't have to be up somebody's coochie. Oh, what's happening in there? But what we could do is in the house, or if people came together and united, they don't even have to be in the house, and they held space for that child entering and hooking up and coming together. So energetically, we hold space for that energy being to get hooked up to its suit. So instead of, if you're in the hospital, everybody's in the waiting room, like, yeah, let's just hold space for that baby. You don't have to be in that room. And then you need to take time with your child. This whole concept of going to see Nanny and Poppy and whoever's got to be seen can wait. They said that there's an initial period of about a month that child should be bonding with the energy of the parents and its place it's going to be living. The concept of packing that baby up and pushing it in a stroller and getting it to the mall, these things are causing hyperactivity in children. Yeah. So if we took that space and gave them that month, now your grandparents are going to lose their mind. But there's nothing, slipping in for a little visit and a kiss and a I love you, I'm so happy you're here, is far different than putting the snowsuit on that little child and wrapping it up and putting it in a stroller and taking it to a mall. And then pushing it around. Lights are flashing, noises are going, people are screaming, people are smashing things, and that little energy being is going, that suit and that being coming together has not fused and set itself in place. And the best thing we can do when we welcome another earth being to the planet is to give it time to assimilate, because otherwise we're pushing it into this hyperactivity. And that's what's happened to all these children, is that they just don't have any time to assimilate to their parents and to their surroundings. So, these are cool things they talked about. I don't know why they even talked about it, except the fact that we could start to apply it and use it to make things better.